Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Undisrupted Podcast. I'm Carl, and I'm going to bring in Adam here and ask you a question. LMSs, long ago, I've had friends, learning management systems, I had friends who predicted that those things would be dead and buried. You know, Britain wasn't using them anymore. The United States is going to dump them, but they seem to have had a major resurgence with COVID and all the remote learning. So what's your hot take? What do you think, Adam, about when it comes to LMSs? Like them, love them, hate them?
Well, you know what? I'm so glad you added in learning management system, because some people listening may think we're talking about library media specialists. Especially right now, but that may be another topic we talk about. Some school districts are totally like missing the boat and trying to make library media specialists substitutes and all this other kind of stuff. But I'm not going to go get in. I'm not getting into that right now.
That's a good. We'll put a pin in that one for later.
The LMSs.
Plural. But it's a LMI.
LMI. When you have an LMS, it's really important that you just don't grab what everybody else is getting, because I hear some people say, oh, well, Google Classroom or Canvas or this or that. You really need to look at what you're trying to get out of your LMS. I know, like for us in my district, we had the conversation about we wanted our students to be college and career ready. So this was pre-pandemic. We really looked at a platform that would get our students ready for what they were going to be using at the collegiate level, or if they were going into the workforce, what was something that kind of mirrored some of those tools that were out there. And so that's what worked for us. And then we wanted consistency throughout our district. We didn't want kids to have a different platform for each teacher or each grade level. So, you got to have that thing. You got to have the, unfortunately, the tech director maybe who comes out and say, no other platforms. I hate being that gatekeeper, but sometimes you have to be the gatekeeper. And for me, you got to be a gatekeeper. But the LMSs, though, they still have to get better. I still have not seen one that really does what everyone wants it to do. And we're forced by these companies, unless you're going to sponsor us, then I love you.
Yeah. Right now, we're currently unsponsored by any LMSs out there. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to bring in, I like that too, the consistency message. That's a big one too. And I would say as a parent of 3 kids, it's nice to have the same platform for all 3 kids. So as a parent, of course, we love that tech directors have to be the bad person there. But Arla Monroe, she's the director of technology at Columbia Public Schools in Columbia, Missouri. You can follow her at Twitter at Arla Monroe. Arla, what are your thoughts? What's your take on the LMS? Good, bad, ugly?
The LMS, it does have its place, but what it doesn't do are things that we need it to do. Integrate with gradebooks. Come on, that's a real simple, can we not do that? And that seems to always be the pain point. Well, we've got an LMS over here. Well, we've got a gradebook over here. And we're going to put our assignments over here, and we're going to grade over here, and all of that. And I don't know why somebody just can't get it right. Why can't somebody come out with a student data system, a student database that works with an LMS, and they just integrate? Why can't we do that? Why can't we do that?
One to rule them all. Yes.
Yeah. Why can't we do that instead of just different entities? So that's been my big focus. Like Adam said, you have to be sure it meets what your district needs. And I think we don't do that. It's, well, I saw this at a conference. This will work for us. Oh, but does it do standard reference grading? Well, no, but we can make it do that if we do this. And then you end up just with all these different add-ons and stuff. And it really, somebody just needs to do it well.
Yeah. And also, we have to, and people who sit in our seats have to listen to the teachers, because oftentimes, and we saw this with the pandemic, you may have an LMS, but then you'll have an elementary teacher say, well, they love Seesaw. So forget Google Classroom, we're going to use Seesaw. And so now you have pockets of that being used, and then you're not supporting that as a district leader. But then a teacher needs support on it, and you're like, well, heck, I don't even know about that product. Who's using it? And so, sometimes we have to say, okay, maybe this is a good product that they're using. Maybe we need to bring it into the fold and see how we can implement it or whatever.
That exact thing happened to us with Seesaw. It was kind of a fringe, like you said. And with the pandemic, it got brought in and used because a lot of our elementary teachers did that. So it was adoption by use, and we did need to support that.
I will say the only thing worse than an LMS that won't actually tie into a grading book system is a grading book system attempting to be an LMS. If you've ever seen those are awful. But I digress. Adam,
let's have some
if you
fun.
Don't know, Adam and Arla used to work together. So Adam, I'm going to throw the fun question to you because we always like to start the show off with a fun question for our guests. So Adam, what you got for?
Okay, Arla, I'm gonna give you one that some people are going to look at you different if you get this wrong.
Oh,
okay.
No.
Pressure.
Yeah. So this is a fun question, but it's a serious question.
Okay.
Barbecue.
Ooh.
Now, Kansas City is known for their barbecue. Now, I'm not going to say who has the best barbecue, Kansas City or St. Louis, because we already know the answer to that. I'm going to ask you, what is the best barbecue restaurant in Kansas City?
Ooh.
So if someone's visiting Kansas City,
I'm taking notes.
Where do they need to go?
They need to go to Joe's Barbecue. You only eat at Joe's, and there's a little gas station that's Joe's that I think has maybe 2 seats in it, and it is the most wonderful barbecue you will ever have. Not to discount Salt Lake in Texas, that's my number 2. If
Right down the road from me.
Joe's, I'll go to Salt Lake, but that's it. You've got to eat at Joe's. There really is nothing comparable to that.
I was going to go with Jack Staggs, but that's.
It's too Americanized now.
Not Arthur Bryant or
the burnt ends and cheesy corn.
Yes. I lived in KC, so I lived right outside of it when I was little, but Leavenworth, this little town. Well, you probably heard of it. It has a prison. There's a whole story behind that too that I won't get into, but not on the podcast. But yes, great barbecue there. They do make really good barbecue, and I have great barbecue here in Austin, so I'm happy. But I'm always looking for that next. So Joe's, thank you for that.
Actually, my superintendent made a trip to Kansas City here a while back, and I said, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you to eat at Joe's. And he texted me and he goes, what is wrong with these people? It's a pandemic. The line is like 2 hours long waiting. And so during a pandemic, to eat at Joe's is still an event because you've got to plan a whole day because it is so busy, because it is so good.
Barbecue we're dying for.
I'm not mistaken, I think some of the dry rub that they put on the meat at Joe's is in the coronavirus vaccine. It's not proven, but I saw it in a meme, so I'm pretty sure that's true.
I'll take the Pfizer. I'll take the Pfizer with the side of baby back ribs. Thanks.
Their barbecue sauce is sold in stores, and it's called Night of the Living Dead barbecue sauce.
Ooh, I like
My
it.
Oh, there you go.
Zombie. All right, I'm writing this down.
So, Arla, I actually got a chance to kind of look at some of your Twitter feed at the beginning of the school year.
Flashback to Twitter.
And so, as all tech directors out there was something that kind of happened at the start of our virtual learning. And oddly enough, most of the stuff was things that were outside of our control. We were at the mercy of a vendor. So without, necessarily exposing the vendor or whatever, could you kind of share, your experience and how you were able to kind of navigate that problem that you ran into?
Okay. And that's probably what started us on a train that lasted about 90 days. And we're just now coming past that. But the Thursday before Labor Day, we're rocking along. We had managed to give devices to every kid. We were just, really swinging for the fences, doing well. And then the Friday before Labor Day weekend, we started noticing some issues. And by Sunday, we had discovered that none of our iPads, 12,000 of them, would not connect to the internet because of a vendor who had gone up and done some maintenance in preparation for the start of Tuesday after Labor Day and deleted one of our cloud nodes.
No.
So hence nothing would connect.
Oh, no.
And so the iPads would not connect to Jamf to get any updates. And so what we had to do was basically tell parents over Twitter, email, everything we could, to reset the iPad, reset it, and that way it would get rid of, we had to get rid of that client so that it would then connect to their own personal Wi-Fi and even work. Chaos. Yeah. I likened it in a after-action meeting to, we got T-boned by a semi. Our community, we delayed the start of school just to be sure. And then we ended up going virtual, which was not a very popular decision. And then technology didn't work the Monday before Tuesday. And so you can imagine the chaos we had. We ended up here at our central office. I called in every person that would come in from technology, and we told people, just come to here, we'll help you. We filled the parking lot. We had traffic management on the streets. People were in such panic. So it didn't start well. From there. It did not. And, we started hearing things like, well, why weren't you ready? You had all summer to be ready. But we were ready. It's just that semi truck plowed us over.
Yeah.
But, and we actually, from that vendor, received the apology letter. which you don't hardly ever get,
Mhm.
but we got that pretty quickly because they're like, oh yeah, we deleted that. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it's kind of hard for those unknown unknowns.
gosh, it
Yes.
was something never expected. And it just really, really set the course for technology. Like I said, you can't make this stuff up. You just cannot. And it just kept rolling. The stuff just kept rolling like that. It was like, where did this come from? This has never happened before. Why would this happen?
Of all days too, man. At least they give you that letter. I mean, so maybe you could on the outward facing website be like, hey, we're not lying. This is really coming. It's not us. I mean, they
Right.
love to blame
We
us.
gave it to our board, our board understands, and we made it very public. You read my Twitter feed. It was very public that this happened from a vendor. It wasn't a CPS issue. It was a vendor issue. So
And
just the management of that.
that's one thing we want to make sure like all of our listeners understand, especially the tech directors that are listening to this feed. You have to communicate with those vendors when they do things that cause us headaches, and getting that letter definitely makes a big difference, because it's like, hey, it's on them. Not saying that I'm a bad person for choosing them as a vendor, but hey, they made a mistake and they're owning it. Not it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's like that was our biggest issue to start, and it's just kind of gone from there. So.
well, with all that stress to start the school year out, I have to ask you, like, what are you doing to maintain your own sanity and self-care? I know that's been a big awareness thing that's been brought up a lot about educators in general. So your team, what are some strategies or tips out there you guys you come up with, like, for your own self? I mean, just to kind of keep you kind of centered.
Actually, every weekend I go to the lake and I sit on my boat from all day Saturday and all day Sunday, and I totally disengage. I totally disengage. And that's the only thing that keeps me able to come back on Monday without having worried about it all weekend. Long about Sunday night, I'm looking at my emails and those kinds of things. But I mean, people know how to absolutely get a hold of me. But when possible, I just disengage that way. I've got to get out of the house, out of town, or I'll always have something to do. And I only go an hour. So it's not like I go real far, but I go far enough that coming back home is not the issue.
It's a good socially distant activity there as well.
Yes.
Getting out on a boat in the middle of nowhere. Yes.
Yeah, and somebody's like, I can't get in contact with you. How's that on the boat? You know how that is.
I'm on a boat.
Exactly.
So, and this next question is because we have a little history also with some of the work we did back in Hickman. But of course, this year with the pandemic, we've had social unrest. There's a lot of things that have been going on in our country. And we've had to deal with equity issues, equity in access, equity in devices. All these things have just kind of come to the forefront. So, what have you kind of been doing in your district or your department to kind of address these equity? Could be the homework gap, all these various things that are out there. How you kind of been addressing those or attacking those in your area?
Well, when I came to Columbia, it was 2019. So this is just my second year here. And one thing I noticed was in K-5, we had a big disparity. We didn't have some schools had devices, some didn't. We have 21 elementary schools. So it was very apparent. Some buildings had it, some buildings didn't. So we made a plan. And before the pandemic was here, we already had devices in the pipeline for all of those students, iPads. We had those 10,000 iPads ready. We had devices for all our elementary teachers ready. All of that was, great. Luckily, I guess, or however you want to call that, I was able to put those things in place when I came. And so when the pandemic hit, we were totally ready to disperse those devices. So device equity wasn't an issue, but we have a program we called Wi-Fi at Home. And it was if you qualified and you could get a free hotspot from us, no worries. We had 117 kids in that program out of 20,000 students.
Wow.
So didn't have very many. Well,
Yeah.
Go figure. So the first thing I said at our first incident command meeting in March was, we better get more hotspots, because if we don't, all of our kids are going to go home and not be able to learn because they don't have internet. They've just not taken advantage. So
Right.
we got 1,600 hotspots in the pipeline before May. And that was wonderful because we could hand them out to our kids because soon there was a shortage of those.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to give them to our students. So we've ended up with about 3,000 hotspots out there. Our county commission through CARES funds funded some, the district funded some as well. And we've got all that going on to bring that up to an equity, a more equitable solution. We've also got pods, learning pods all over the city that are trying to bring kids in. I know I was working with the Columbia Housing Authority, and they have a pod of 50 students, but we were taxing their bandwidth because they had so many students. And so we ended up giving them hotspots so they didn't have to upgrade their bandwidth. So we're working with those pods that have students that just need a place to go to do things. So we're trying our best to get everybody access as we move through.
So what advice would you give to someone to try to create those partnerships or relationships out there? I mean, did you just pick up the phone and call or email or?
Our superintendent, he is so involved in our community. He's been here 16 years in our district, and he's very involved in our community. And he was actually on the board of the Housing Authority at one point. And so they had contacted him about needing this help, and he gave them to me. Not being in this community very long, I don't have very many of those relationships built. And so a lot of people have just come at me saying, how can you help? And we have a couple of our cabinet level administrators who have a partners meeting, and they go and they visit with all of our partners and bring stuff back to us. How can we help and what can we do? So that's how we really have a pipeline to connect with our community.
So definitely that communication across departments, sharing that information is essential, I guess.
Absolutely. And we meet quite often discussing what the partners need. And anytime there's a need that comes up that's technological, I get a phone call or an email right away.
I'm hearing more and more of that trend in education too, where you partner with local hospitals, or even laying bandwidth and fiber, you getting together with local agencies to make sure you partner with all that. So you're not all paying different things at the same time. We could all be on the same line in some ways too. So that's great. I forgot to ask too at the beginning, what kind of model of schooling are you guys doing right now? Are you doing hybrid, remote, a mix of everything?
We are 100% virtual.
Okay.
We started 100% virtual. When we delayed start, and then we started 100% virtual. In October, we tried to bring back K-5, and it was about 4 weeks. And because of quarantines, we were closing all of our schools again. And so we went back all virtual, and that's where we are right now.
So what would stay, if I had to ask you, when this is all over and the new normal or the normal returns or whatever we want to call it, what stays? What do you think needs to absolutely, you've seen something great that's happened because of this that needs to stay in education?
I've said that we just took a leap of 10 years in education. I've been doing this for 20. And if I could have woke up and said, what's the best thing that could happen? It would be something like this. It was majorly disruptive. But sometimes that disruption makes a big difference. And so I think we need to continue everything we've done. And then we need to take our in-seat and make it better. Because I think we've done so good, at least here at CPS, our teachers have done such a great job with the virtual environment. They took leaps and bounds. Many of them took leaps and bounds in what they're doing. So I think we need to take what we're doing here and transfer it to the classroom, but still keep that virtual piece. I think if we give up the virtual piece and say, well, we're back in seat now, and we discard this, we can't do that. We have to keep this piece, and then we have to enhance what's going on in the seat.
That's so true. It's really amazing how far we've gone in the past. Was it 9 months now or something?
Feels like 9 years, but yeah, 9 months.
Stuff that, we've been preaching for years. I know when we worked previously, we made that Google transition and people were like, I can't use my staff share anymore. What if Google goes down? It's like,
it'll never go down.
Yeah.
Whoops. Just for a few minutes.
And that's been one of those things as we went through our issue over Labor Day with the third party vendor, and then our LMS goes down. Well, that's not us, but yes, it is us, or ClassLink goes down or Zoom goes down. And people are just like, what are you doing at CPS? We're doing nothing. We're doing our jobs to the best of our ability, and these vendors have issues. They're adjusting as well, and it's gotten a lot better. But we had to create a website of click on their link. If you can't get some tool, click on their link. They'll tell you it's down. So that's been an adjustment for folks.
That
So
was
you
one
don't.
of the things we did. We did like little status for like everything, like internet service providers. Like, we don't do Xfinity. That's Xfinity, but you know what? Don't call me and tell me your internet's not working. Click on the link and it'll tell you their status. It's almost like telling people, like when your power goes out. Yes, you can call the power company and say, when's it coming back on? They're like, they're trying to fix it. It's going to be back up when it's up. Like, I don't know.
But don't you think that like we have like a magical power? I mean, some people think, I don't know about you guys, but wherever I walk into a room and my wife's struggling with something on her laptop or my kids, I just kind of move by and then like, can stand right there because now it's working because you're right here. Like, and they think that we must have like some sort of magic switches in the back. I see that computer behind you, Arla. You're back there going, I'm just going to turn off this today, like because I want the headache, right?
Right, right. And, we joked a lot around here. Everybody needed better internet service. They had internet service, but it's through old CenturyLink phone lines. Columbia, as far as infrastructure goes, the fiber optic is to the new communities, and the old CenturyLink, DSL is everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked to us and said, "Well, fix it." We can't. We're not a public utility,
Mm-hmm.
and there's just nothing we can do with the fact that your internet is slow and you can't upgrade. I can't help you.
That's actually, I don't know if you had this happen. I know I had several companies that approached me during all this, telecommunications companies or whatever. They're trying to set up towers and all this stuff within our community. And, people were like, well, Adam, you should look into it. I was like, guys, you're turning us into a public utility now when we're starting to, put dishes up on towers and beam our own cellular service to people's homes. Like, where does it begin and end? It's like if somebody's saying there's not enough street lights on this street, are we going to put street lights up so they can make it to their bus after 5 o'clock when it's dark during wintertime? Like, I don't know. Like, you tell me, where does it begin and end? Just because technology is a hot item right now, I don't know.
That was my biggest thing, was just I can't make it better. I can't. Well, we only get 2 megabits download. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. So there was some things, that it was very frustrating for me because we couldn't help. But then again, how could we have helped? So that was very frustrating.
Well, here is your chance to help everyone right now,
Okay.
Arla.
All right.
During this time, all these people have gotten so disrupted in their life. We ask all of our guests to give us some words of encouragement to keep our listeners out there undisrupted.
I think we have to remember why we're here. We're not here to earn a paycheck. We're here for kids. I think all of us are in education for a reason, and that's it. And at the end of the day, I want to go home and say, I did my best for the kids. If I can't do that, then I can't stay on a level plane. No matter what's coming at you with vendors or what's coming at you with other things, you have to end up at the end of the day going, I did the best I could for the kids. And even though I can't see them all, that's what I did it for. I did it for the kids.
Always good to keep that in mind. I know, let's get a little tear to the eye there. I got it too. Because really, that is what it's all about. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we have to keep that as our focus. And I want to thank you, Arla, for joining us. Tell our folks, our listeners out there, where can we find you and your great work? Is there the Twitter I heard about that you tweeted some stuff? I'm going to definitely check that out now because Adam's led me to it.
I haven't tweeted since that incident. So
Wow.
Were you put in Twitter jail? Did you go off on them?
I wasn't put in Twitter jail, but at the same time, a lot of people started listening to me, and then I felt like I needed something profound to say. And I've just had my nose to the grindstone, and there's been no profound. So, but I will
take it from us. We tweet. We don't say anything profound. We just say things.
Well, that looks interesting. I'm going to put that out there.
I'll tweet this. I'll say this is on here. And,
all right. We made it onto your tweet roll.
Yeah. First one since Labor Day. Good job.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And for our listeners out there, be sure to subscribe and give us a review. We'd appreciate it. We might even give you a shout out on a future show. This has been the Undisrupted podcast brought to you by Future Ready Schools. He's Adam, and you can follow him at AskAdam3.
He's Carl. You can find him at Mr. Hooker. And remember, we are better together.
And we are better
undisrupted.
And eat at Joe's. This podcast is made possible by the generous support of Amazon Web Services.